my job really is to kind of bring together what we've been talking about and say, so we have an enhancement theme going forward for the next year. What's going to happen? What's it about? And what part is Iliad going to play? Is this not on?
Oh, somebody's removed the dongle.
Next slide. It works. Yeah. Iliad. The great team behind what's going to happen. And next slide. The TEL agenda. We've got TEL's really important for a number of reasons. And if we kind of bring together all the reasons that we talk about the importance of flexibility. We also talk about the importance of scalability in a time when we're dealing with increasingly large class sizes. We talk about the importance of engagement, of making the student experience better. And also there is a whole issue about credibility. If we don't do this, what do we look like? You know, if we aren't using the most modern tools, and if we aren't demonstrating to the outside world the wonderful things that we're doing, then what do we look like? Next. I just want a quick aside on blended learning. A few years ago, I got given a chunk of money and told to go out and spend it on blended learning in the university. And I went around to all the faculties and said, we can help you. We can do blended learning stuff with you. You can take a module and make it a fantastic blended learning module. And no one got it, really. And there was a kind of response that was, well, you know, I've already put my stuff in Blackboard. I don't need you to help me do that. And so one of the things we'll be trying to do over the course of the next year is to have a look at increasing the university-wide understanding of what blended learning is. So, you know, things like online labs, simulations, serious games, debates on forums, peer assessment exercises, and so on. These are all part of the rich tapestry of things we can do online. And we'll be trying to engage with the faculties about what would work for them, what they would like, and how we can help with it. Next slide. Right, so that, you know, if I take all of these things like flexibility, scalability, engagement, and credibility, and I look at all the kind of agendas that are flying around at the moment, blended learning activities I've just been talking about, online and hybrid courses, e-submission, e-feedback, lecture capture, flipped classroom approaches, modern, you know, what should the VLE look like? Pretty much everything is online, but what part does EdShare play in that? Active learning in large lectures. All of these things are important parts of what we're trying to deal with over the course of this enhancement theme. So, next. Iliad's going to do the following sorts of things. It's going to do a faculty roadshow and come around to the faculties and engage with people about these things. There's going to be more of these sort of conferences and workshops and so on. We're talking about doing a MOOC or a SPOC. Have you heard this word SPOC? Small private online course, as opposed to massive open online course. So we're talking about doing something about blended learning activities, so that we can share ideas about what's going on there. We've got the iChamps doing a fantastic job today, by the way. And we're going to be developing our community of practice. And I know, looking around what I can see out there, a number of faces that are members of the community of practice already. And we're going to try and make that really work for the university. There'll be more stuff in the CPD programme, and we'll be helping people who want to get to doing online courses, and so on. So there's a lot going on here that we can help with. I just want to say a quick word about MOOCs, because one of the achievements we've had over the last few years is we were one of the first up on the kind of the FutureLearn MOOC platform, and I think we've done 7 or 8 so far, and they've all been for slightly different tactical reasons that we've done them, but they have they've had an interesting effect from our point of view. Not only have they been, go for the next slide, not only have they been very good external stuff, but they've been rather fine internal change agents, and that's what I'm interested in from this. So a small amount of investment has actually, in fact, we've already proven it's pulling in students. Particularly where we've got an online course to pull students into, they're paying for themselves, these MOOCs. But in the meantime, wherever we actually do MOOCs, thank you, yes, we're finding that that things change internally. So, for example, this sort of thing has happened a few times, where we've run a MOOC with thousands of people joining in from outside, but we've also had a class who've used the MOOC as their textbook. So, is that? Oh no, that's not. Did you do that, or did I? Oh no, no, it doesn't work. Back one. So in this slide, we've got the paying students, the students on our course, doing a bit of preparation before the MOOC starts, then joining in on the MOOC and getting a little bit of further instruction on the side, and then afterwards doing some real proper assessments around the MOOC materials. And this sort of approach, this isn't the only sort of approach. In some of the faculties, they've broken out the resources they made from the MOOCs and used them in many different ways. But what happens here is that we start to see change happening in the faculties, and then people looking over the shoulders of the people who've made the change happen and say, well, I could do a bit of that, it's not so hard. And this is another one that the University of Georgia Tech has put a whole course online, a whole degree, doing it MOOC style. So there are lots of bits of MOOCs, and you do all the MOOCs, and you get a degree. And they're not completely, in fact, open. You do have to have entrance requirements to go on their masters, and having got those entrance requirements, you do have to pay, but you have to pay $7,000 as opposed to $50,000 to do their MSc. So you can see that that's starting to do something for flexibility. So we are talking at this university about doing more online courses, and one of the things we will be doing is developing the university's online strategy over the course of this year. And yeah, my point about MOOCs is that MOOCs are not the end of the game at all. They're just a phase on the way to understanding how to do online learning better. Yeah. Okay. And summing up. Yep. Some thoughts. Here are some thoughts. I'd just like to be a little bit controversial at this stage and ask a few questions and see. Yeah, why do we transmit information by giving lectures? Aren't there better ways of transmitting information? So aren't there better ways we could use the contact time than spending it transmitting information? Yeah. So the flipped classroom argument, obviously. What is the educational benefits to students of coming to a university? No, yeah, there are benefits, but what are they? Are they just being taught in lectures? Why are we doing closed book handwritten examinations? How relevant are they to what people actually need to be able to do? Yeah. How are we preparing our students for an increasingly virtual workplace? A particular bugbear of mine. I think we have to do more to prepare students for the way the workplace really is. And all of these things may well have good answers, but I think it would be useful to have this discussion and understand what our approach is, and that we're not just doing these things out of some, it was always done like that, so we've got to go on doing it like that approach. So the future of learning with TEL: increased student engagement, increased collaboration in learning, more online learning, more emphasis on doing and creating, less emphasis on remembering and knowing, and getting more skills development for people working in the online environment. And I like that little quote at the end that I've misquoted, actually. We're preparing students for jobs that don't yet exist, using work practices we don't yet know, supported by tools not yet invented. And that's the educational environment we're living in. So I'm hoping very much that over the course of the next year we'll be answering some of these questions, we'll be debating this as a community, and we will be involving more people than we are currently managing to involve in the discussion by getting out to the faculties and joining in the debates that happen in the faculties, rather than asking the staff to come to these things. So finally, it's time to say thanks. Thanks, obviously, to everyone who's come to this and joined in, and I think this conference was lovely. It had a certain energy about it that I think was quite different. And so I've got to say particular thanks to yes, Fiona and Katie and Katie. So Katie and Katie, come on up. So get the right one. That's Katie Eason. Thank you. Thank you. So that's for you. Katie, Katie, Katie. There you go. So Katie and Katie have been the people in Iliad who have done all the work of making this happen. They got about 3 weeks' notice that they were meant to be doing this, okay? So I just think that was wonderful that they've got it together and got everyone here. And then finally, Fiona, who also got about 3 weeks' notice and has done loads of work to get all of us here and so on. Thank you very much, Fiona.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, you'll find somewhere to put him.